Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 478 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network for September 3rd, 2017. This week, your assistants are working together. Apparently that's going to be a hard word for me. Your childhood is becoming relevant again, and your personal data could be for sale again. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, thank you. Whether it be Facebook, iTunes, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, Google Play Music Podcasts on Android, the myriad of other podcatchers, or of course our live stream partners, livestream.com, Mixer, YouTube Live, and of course Periscope. You can join us on any of those, and of course on our apps, PLUGHITZlive.com/apps. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can join us. The first is through any of those live stream partners, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you will see links for all four. You will also see the embed from Mixer. So if you don't want to go anywhere else, you can just join us right there as well. But you can join us on any of the four. You can chat with us in the chat room. That's one of the best parts. And give us your input on the topics that we're talking about as we're talking about them. We love to hear your input. The two easiest ways tonight to chat with us will be on Mixer and YouTube, because they're both open in all of our locations. But we'll be checking the others as well. If you can't join us live, that is okay. You can also subscribe by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see F5 Live, the Pilch Point with Avram Pilch, which we'll be talking about IFA in just a little bit. Our special events feed, our first looks, which will be coming back for a special edition next week. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And all of our other series as well, just by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. And I think with that, that is my spiel. How are you, Avram?
Good.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah, I had a pretty good week. It was a little quiet in the office, but big news coming out of Berlin, where a couple of my colleagues were visiting the IFA show, which is a great great consumer technology show, a lot like CES for Europe. So that was cool. And I got to go to Legoland with my son, so that was cool.
Very nice.
An off-topic thing, I recommend everybody go to a Lego. Well, it wasn't the official Legoland. Like, there's the big Legoland in California, and then there's like the little, I guess you call them Lego Discovery Centers, that are in a lot of cities and more cities. So I went to one.
We have actually
just enjoyed it.
We have actually got the other Legoland here in Florida, in Lakeland.
Oh, is it like a big one with big rides and everything?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta take him there just for that. This was like an indoor, one. It's just
gotcha.
You're just there for like a couple hours because it's not that big, but
sure.
He loved it, and I loved it. Because it was, they had like an entire New York City, like to scale, I think, with Lego, made out of Legos.
Jeez. They're incredible to see, aren't they? Some of the stuff that gets done.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is really, really fascinating to see the cool stuff.
Before our Museum of Science and Industry in Tampa shut down for renovation, they had an exhibit called The Art of the Brick, I think, which was an all Lego exhibit, which may or may not be coming back when they're done. I don't have any idea.
So consequently, I spent like the last 2 days building the stuff that he bought at the Lego store.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So we got him an AT-AT, and he's way too young to build it, but he really wanted it. So
sure.
He's sitting there, spent 3 hours today building one. But it takes me back. Having my son is like living my childhood all over again. So, or at least the good parts. So,
sure.
Yeah, so that was cool, and as we stride into fall, lots of cool things are going to be coming, lots of new products. So look.
Uh-oh. Well, it's that time of the show where Avram does his 60-second pause. So in that, uh, with that, what I'll do right now is let's talk about our temporary gap in our show. We were talking about building stuff. This month is the kickoff for the first Tech Challenge robotics program. Oh, Avram's back. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have our first look show back for a special episode next week. One of our partners is doing a robot in a weekend. And so we're going to be there covering the team building a robot literally from the announcement on Saturday probably through Sunday night. By the end of Sunday night, we should have a fully functional, or at least mostly functional machine. So next week, our show will be a little different. We will be building a robot instead of a normal show. So it'll be a first look show next week, which means we won't see Avram next week. We'll see him back in 2, but that's okay. We've got a lot of stuff, and welcome back, Avram.
Yeah.
You did your...
No, that's I look forward to watching next week's to see somebody building the robot. Do you know what kind of robot it is yet?
We don't know what the game is going to entail. We know what the theme is. It based on the logo that has been released, it's Indiana Jonesy. I don't want to say Indiana Jones period, but it does seem to have a bit of an Indiana Jones feel to it. So, I don't know what the exact game will be. That we will find out Saturday. I think the game is released at noon, and then after kickoff, we will go to our build location at University Mall in Tampa. If you're in the Tampa area and would like to see this crazy thing in action, the front of the storefront will be open for the whole build. So if you want to come check it out, you're welcome to at the University Mall over by the Spencers. I don't know the mall very well, but if you find the Spencers, you'll find us. So that's as much as we know about what the robot will be required to do. So very little. But we will find out on Saturday, and then we will go immediately to our build and start working, and we will turn the live stream on as soon as things get exciting. So you'll be able to follow us.
Are you going to use actual parts from Spencer Gifts?
No.
Like spray it down with fart spray when it's over?
You know, with the group that'll be there, it's always possible. You never quite know what's going to happen. I mean, it is going to be a number of people who have just recently graduated from high school in the last couple of years. So, it's always possible. They know who their market is, and it's that group. So, but yeah, definitely join us. We will be broadcasting not from any of our pages. It'll be coming from another Facebook page. So what we'll do is we'll share the stream on all of our pages so you can follow along. Because we don't want anybody to miss anything. It should be a tremendous amount of fun. And it'll be over 2 days. So anyway, with that, how about we get down to some news? Avram?
Yep.
This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. You can get a Surface laptop right now starting at $9.99 and a Surface Pro starting at $7.99. You can save $50 on an Xbox One S, plus get 2 additional games, and of course, learn about all of the stuff with VR and AR with Windows 10 Mixed Reality, which is coming in October, plus, of course, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? You can find other laptops, Office 365, other deals on VR stuff like the HTC Vive, which we mentioned last week, just went to $5.99. The limited edition Minecraft Xbox One S, which is a gorgeous device, and of course, a bunch of other Microsoft stuff as well. And you can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Speaking of Microsoft, let's talk about a little teaser of IFA, something that was announced this week that was a bit of a surprise to almost all of us. And that was the idea that Alexa and Cortana are becoming colleagues instead of competitors. Starting sometime before the end of this year, according to both companies, you will be able to use one of your digital assistants to trigger the other one. The initial trigger sequence will be a little clumsy, not ideal. Hey Cortana, open Alexa, blah, 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 and then say your Alexa thing. Reorder napkins, or whatever the thing is that you want Alexa to do. And vice versa, you can say, Alexa, open Cortana, what's my next appointment, or whatever. So you'll be able to trigger both of them back and forth, which is an interesting move from both companies, considering how big the digital assistant market is and how much everybody else is trying to compete themselves into a corner, right?
So what's interesting about this to me is under what circumstances. Now, first of all, do we know yet whether you'll be able to change the default to the other one, or every time you want to ask Alexa from within Windows 10 or something, you're going to have to say, Cortana, open Alexa, or once you've opened it the first time, will you be able to keep asking questions?
I don't know the details on that, but I think the command to open Alexa will trigger her to be the processor instead of Cortana. For that session. As soon as the Cortana window closes, though, Cortana will kick back in as your primary. That's my guess, but I don't know for sure. And that's just the behavior at launch. The plan is that no matter which one you're on, depending on what you ask, the system behind the scenes will determine who is the best one to complete a particular request, and will automatically choose for you. That's the next step, but it's not the before the end of the year, first gen, here, try it out thing.
Well, here's an interesting question. If you were trying to plan that out, which one? What are some of the things that you would give to Cortana over Alexa? What are some of the things that you would give to Alexa over Cortana?
Alexa, I would put in charge of buying stuff. Cortana, I would put in charge of general internet searches and Skype stuff, because obviously Alexa's integration with Skype and with Office and Office 365 and Outlook and all that stuff is going to be much more detailed than Alexa could ever be. But then Alexa's integration with Amazon's tools obviously are going to be much more detailed than Microsoft could ever have. So, and then somewhere down the middle, when you start getting into maybe home controls, it depends on who you've set up the home controls with.
What about when it comes to just I generally don't see the point of this, but what happens when it comes to just asking informational questions that either one could have, what's the weather?
I would stay on whoever the hardware provider is. So if you're asking the Echo, I'd let Alexa do it, because there's only a single call that needs to be made instead of a double call. And if you're on Windows 10 and you ask, I'd just let Cortana deal with her own stuff, because you don't have to do the double hop.
I guess I'm just trying to think of this from a consumer perspective,
mm-hmm.
From a kind of power user perspective. Yeah, great, give me choices, give me freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're having a situation where you ask your computer something and you're not really sure, I don't know, maybe in the end it doesn't matter as long as it's seamless. But if you're getting a different voice each time, that might be a little weird.
I don't know that you're going to get a different voice each time. I have a feeling that the voice processing will be done by the hardware. Total guess. I've read all the information that's been made publicly available, and that's not one of the things that's been discussed. But my guess is that if you ask in the second gen, probably first gen too, if you ask Cortana a question, hey Cortana, open Alexa, order napkins, and Alexa responds, my guess is the voice processing will be done by Cortana. It's just a guess, though.
Because I can totally see that, like, average consumer Bob and Betty Best Buy being like, whoa, why are there two different people talking to me?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Why is my computer schizophrenic?
Yeah. What's the difference between the one and the other? Like, I think that this is net a huge advantage to Amazon, because it gets Amazon onto all these Windows 10 computers. And it benefits Amazon because, I'm sorry to say, I don't think Cortana is bad or anything, but I think Amazon has dominated the market. Like, has dominated the market for like home devices. And as far as on phones, you could probably argue that obviously Siri is a clearly well known, and people do use Google Assistant, but in your home, for home-based stuff, Alexa is very well known. People who don't even have it kind of think it's cool and want it. So you look at that, and Amazon's been very smart about allowing anybody who wants to pretty much to make Alexa-powered stuff. So like, I know Lenovo is coming out with, earlier had shown an Alexa speaker. I think, there are companies out there, other companies out there working on Alexa products.
Yeah.
And it's all to Amazon's advantage, right? Because now you're getting into their ecosystem. So, how many people are going to ask for Cortana when they have their Alexa in front of them? No, I think a lot more people are going to ask for Alexa from their computer than are going to ask for Cortana from their, from their Echo. So, I think net this is good for Amazon. I'm not. On the other hand, Microsoft, this might be sort of a tacit admission that they are. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, or even what you can say numbers are, because how you measure engagement with these things is hard to say. But I don't think that Cortana is generally seen as one of the leaders.
Microsoft says that Cortana has 145 million active users, not requests, but users per month.
Yes, I've heard that, but I also have to wonder what counts as being an active user. Like, Cortana is the search box, so people will type things into Cortana, into the search box all the time. And does that count as using Cortana?
I think it has to trigger the Cortana service.
Correct. But
which local searches, anything that's on the local machine, or anything that just touches Bing via text, doesn't go through the Cortana service.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a lot of things where you're given a Cortana like recommendation. Plus, Cortana automatically pops up with notifications sometimes, so you just click on that and you've used Cortana. So I don't know. I'm just saying that while I can't, prove or disprove this, I'd really like to know, like, how many people use the voice feature of Cortana, for example, versus just typing something in the search box.
Absolutely, that's a stat that I would love to know.
So with Alexa, I think it's all. I don't even know if there is a way to interact with Alexa via text. So, with Alexa, you can say they all talk to it. Now, what I like about Cortana is all the stuff you could do with text, because generally speaking, I'm an old fogey and I don't like talking to my computer.
Sure.
I find it awkward, weird. I don't know why I need to talk to it. Just let me type what I need as a command. And it does a good job in things that really don't need to be named Cortana, like like searching for like natural language search of files. Like that's a great feature that's supposedly part of Cortana, but there's nothing that's inherently digital assistant about it. Like
Right.
if you say like, you know, open the last Word document that I edited or find my quarterly report or something, and it like, uses the natural language of your query with what's on your hard drive. Like that's cool. I think ultimately like anything that gives consumers more choice is great,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure that this really helps Microsoft build up Cortana's reputation. Now, if Microsoft is thinking like, hey, we actually, maybe we want to kind of like use, um, use Alexa as our assistant, and we're just sort of transitioning away from Cortana or a lower role for Cortana, um, then this also makes sense. But I don't know. I guess I would just like it's good for consumers, but I'm not so sure that it's good for Microsoft.
Yeah, we'll have to see in time. It's possible that the Cortana concept might be, uh, you know, on its way to being more of a service than a product. Which this kind of move would make sense. It's also possible that Microsoft sees this simply as a way to increase um, the reach of Bing. Yeah, there are possibilities that this could all be simply about increasing the number of registered Bing searches. Who knows?
Huh. So will Alexa search through Bing? I don't even know where it searches through now.
Me neither.
Huh.
But I mean, if you're searching through Cortana, you can be assured that you're searching with Bing.
Yeah, you can't change that even if you want to.
So there's no telling exactly what Microsoft's plans are here or why they decided it was a good idea. But I'm definitely with you. I think the idea that more choice from a consumer standpoint, more choice is better. Obviously, I've been a big proponent of Cortana since she was in alpha on my phone, and the ability to get her in more places for me is a win. So I'm definitely excited about it. This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by Monster Products. The headphones on my head right now, the Monster Elements, available in a variety of colors and a variety of sizes, full on ear and over ear. Plus, if this isn't your style, that's okay. There's in-ears, small, other on-ears, over-ears, sport style, corded and cordless. Plus, of course, speakers from the little hot shot all the way up to the big monster blaster, and the new Firecracker now available. Plus cables and power to hook these and all of your other devices up as well. Plus the outlet store. I was just looking through the outlet stuff myself, and I happened to notice that one of the slimline little power cards, which is a portable charger, is available for $7.99 because the package is damaged. So lots of other deals as well, and you can find all of that by going to PLUGHITZLive.com/monster. And that music means that it is time for the Pilch Point with online editorial director of Laptop Magazine and Tom's Guide, Avram Pilch. Avram!
Hey, still here.
Indeed. It's been an interesting week for announcements.
Yeah, it has. So lots of cool stuff being announced this week because, and maybe people saw some of the announcements and didn't see where they came from, but this past week was a very important trade show. IFA, sometimes referred to as IFA Berlin. A couple of my colleagues, Phil Michaels and Andrew Friedman, went this year. I've been in the past though, and my favorite part of the trip is like it's a good show, but the food is unbelievable there. Anyway, if you ever get a chance in your life, I'm just saying this to everybody, try currywurst. You usually can't. It's hard to find outside of Germany, although there are a few restaurants here in the U.S. that have. Wow, that food is good. Anyway, so at the show, a lot of things were announced, and we picked out some of our favorites because these are all things you're going to be looking forward to this fall. Um, so for one, we really liked the LG V30 phone. It is a really large phablet, 6 inches. It has an OLED display, which is something that we haven't seen much on LG phones, and it's got a couple of different cameras, dual cameras on the back. So LG trying to be competitive, and looks like it has a competitive offering. Obviously, Samsung, everyone's really looking forward to the Note 8. Um, Hopefully, it's safe. Uh, Here, this one is a personal favorite. The Star Wars Jedi Challenges device that was announced this week. Did you see that one? Did you hear about that one?
Nope.
Oh wow! So this is really cool augmented reality thing. So the so you wear so Lenovo's come out with this. You wear a it's going to be 199. It is a headset that you wear that you can stick your Android or iPhone in. It supports like 8 or 10 popular phones. Not every phone in the world can fit in there, fit into the thing. But the headset's pretty comfortable. Uh, and there it comes with a lightsaber and a base station to sort of track your position in the room. You put the base station on the floor, and then you can play AR games where you lightsaber duel Kylo Ren and other stuff like that. There's like 3 games with it. One of them is the 3D chess from Star Wars. One of them is lightsaber battle, and then another one is some type of tower defense game, I think, with AT-ATs. So anyway, it's uh, it's gonna be uh, it's gonna be super cool when it comes out. I think in October. Um, it just like the concept, and it's all AR. It's not VR. So like
Okay.
it's sort of making the things appear on top of things in your room.
Is,
Uh,
is this okay? Is this the thing that has it? It's a lightsaber hilt, and then there's about an
yes,
inch of like glowing.
yes, yes.
Oh, I saw pictures, but I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. And when you hold that, it's like Bluetooth connected to everything. And then, in the goggle, it looks like your lightsaber's totally fired up,
Got
you
it.
know. And there's buttons on it for doing stuff. So, in fact, you use that for the navigation in the game. So, like, you got to point at different things to like pick what game you want and such. So that's a fantastic one. Really exciting. Uh, Obviously, uh, mentioned in time for Force Friday, which was Friday. Uh, there's a new uh, there's a new Gear Sport for those who wanted another Samsung Tizen powered phone. Um, Still, I don't know how bullish to be on smartwatches, considering the kind of years of disappointment that we've had, but it looks pretty cool. Uh, there's a new fitness tracker available from Garmin, the Vivo Active 3 that was announced. Um, Motorola just came out with a Moto X4, which also has dual cameras, and it comes with Alexa and with Alexa on it.
Okay.
Um, Now, onto some of the laptops that were announced. Lenovo's coming out with a couple. The Yoga 920 will be one of the first with 8th gen core, and that will be coming out in October for 1349. That's a successor to the Yoga 910. Very fancy consumer two-in-one. They're also coming out with the Mix 520, which is a detachable to kind of compete with the Surface Pro. Dell is refreshing its XPS 13, which is its flagship model with eighth gen core, and it's going to refresh a lot of its Inspirons and replace them with and have like thinner bezels and a new design. Particularly, we're excited to see the Inspiron 15 7000. They're inexpensive, relatively inexpensive gaming system, which is getting a total redesign and a new screen, in addition to any processor changes. Um, Although that one's quad core, so it probably won't get a processor change right away. So lots of cool stuff coming out. Also on the toy side, uh, these were announced as part of Force Friday, but still part of this week. Little Bits, which makes really great electronics kits for kids, where they just snap things together with magnets. Announced that they're coming out with a droid kit for $99.99, and you can build R2D2, an electronic R2D2 that you can control via your phone, and you build it out of Little Bits electronics. Um,
That's
so that's
really
really
cool.
cool. There's, I believe that Sphero has some new robots. I think Sphero has an R2D2 as well,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also BB-8's evil twin
Mm-hmm.
in the new movie or something. It's not really clear what. There's some kind of like bad Empire or First Order droid that's sort of like the dark version of BB-8, that I think also there's going to be a robot of. So, lots of cool stuff to look forward to this fall, whether you're getting a toy or you're getting a new laptop or you're getting a phone. There's a lot to look forward to, a lot of cool stuff, and the announcements haven't ended. We're coming up upon holiday season, and a lot of companies are going to be rolling out new stuff. Obviously, a lot of people have heard about September 12th is going to be the next iPhone announcement. We don't know exactly what's coming, but everybody expects a larger screen from Apple,
Mm-hmm.
and wireless charging.
And potentially three devices.
Yes, yes, potentially. So,
We'll see how
I
that
think
goes.
people expect an iPhone 8. They expect, I think, a 7S maybe. Um, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Apple's going to surprise us with a naming convention. I think that the new phone will not be named iPhone 8.
I agree.
I think that it will probably be the iPhone or something like that. Um,
Th- there's been a couple of things that have been pitched that I think are possible. One I think is possible, and I hate it. Is just iPhone edition. I think it's a dumb name, but I can see them doing it because they've got the Apple Watch edition. Edition what? Doesn't matter. um, and then I kind of like the idea of the iPhone X, considering it's a 10th anniversary device. I kind of like that idea. I don't think they'll do it, but I kind of like it. They did just
oh,
retire the X out of Mac OS, so that one seems unlikely, but I don't dislike that idea.
Everybody likes 10. Everybody likes X. Nobody likes 11. Like, I think we'll probably be on Windows 10 for many more years. Um, but I don't know. I feel like there's a movement in tech, and there has been a movement for a while away from numbers, which I dislike. Like, I want them to use numbers because when you just name something the MacBook Pro without a model number, although there's some kind of serial number that nobody talks about for every MacBook, so there is some
Yeah.
there. But like for search engine placement, like if you're searching for stuff, it's very easy to get the wrong one. And Apple is notorious for making it hard for you because, they don't even really necessarily give you, like, you have to look if let's say you're looking at a store like Amazon or Best Buy, and you want to make sure you're getting the most recent MacBook, not last year's model. It could be a little bit of a challenge. Like, you see things that say this year's model or 2017. Sometimes they refresh something twice in a year. It's rare, but it happens. Then you're really, is it early 2017 or late? So I really like having specific numbers for products, but I don't think Apple likes it.
No, they do not.
So they've gone away from it everywhere else. Look at the iPad. It's just the iPad.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the iPad Pro. So the MacBooks are the MacBook and the MacBook Pro. So I think it may be that there's two iPhones, the iPhone and the iPhone Pro or something like that. I mean, look at Microsoft did the same thing, right?
Yep.
You had the Surface Pro 3 and the Surface Pro 4, and then they're like, no,
Surface
we're going
Pro.
to do the Surface Pro, which wasn't there originally a Surface Pro that was just the Surface Pro? Wasn't that the first one?
Yes, indeed. In fact, I am, from where I'm sitting right now, I am looking at one. It is
I know.
It is the computer that powers our new chat room program.
Yeah. So yeah. So what? So I don't like it, but that's my prediction. It's what I think will happen, not what I think should happen.
So the iPhone Plus and the iPhone Pro be your three models.
Probably if there are three.
Yeah, I can
If
see
there
that.
are if there are three, there may be just two. But yeah, I do think I don't know if there'll be a Plus and a Pro. Maybe there'll be an S. Maybe it'll be the iPhone S, the iPhone, and the iPhone Pro, something like that. Or maybe there's the iPhone Plus, and the iPhone Pro. But
If they're
whatever
gonna,
it is, they won't have a number.
if they're going to change their agreement, because right now they have agreements with not like a written, this is a promise type thing, but they have a bit of a promise, an agreement with the accessory manufacturers that a hardware design will survive 2 seasons. But if they were going to change that, now would be the time. 10th anniversary. Now would be the time to start making changes. So, if we were going to not see a 7S and a 7 Plus S, 7S Plus, I don't remember how the naming convention works, and that's not a good sign. This would be the year to do it.
So anyway, I definitely recommend everybody to check out tomsguide.com, where we have our list of best things from IFA. And of course, we have some of the announcements on laptopmag.com about all the many notebooks that were announced at IFA. And of course, we will be covering on Tom's Guide, we will be covering the Apple announcement on September 12th a lot. we will be heads down the whole day on every possible angle for that. So please come check us out.
I imagine Mark will be there for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He's going. He will be there at the event, and we'll all be the rest of us will be in the office feverishly doing follow-up stories.
Makes sense. Meanwhile, I will be on Twitter feverishly harassing Apple.
Actually, the story I've been assigned, and I do this every year, is the story about try to the kind of the devil's advocate story for Android. So how does Android still beat the iPhone?
Yeah. How does it stack up today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds about right. All right. Well, we will look forward to in 2 weeks hearing information from you about the iPhone and probably about that particular article. That tends to be what our mid-September pilch point is. And we will not have a pilch point next week, so we will see you back in 2. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. Right now, lots of deals available on a variety of Razer products, which Razer makes arguably the best gaming accessories on the market. Right now, you can get the Razer Tiamat headphones for $199. You can get a Lance Head Tournament Edition mouse for $79.99, and a bunch of other deals as well. And right now, if you buy that Lance Head, you can also get the Gigantus, which is the giant, almost desk-sized mouse pad that I mention almost every week. You can get that for free as a deal if you use BTS GIG as your promo code. You can get that giant mouse pad for free. I will tell you, I've used one. If you are an artist, it's a great addition. If you're a PC gamer, it's a great addition. So it's good for a lot of people. You can check out those and all of the other deals by going to f5live.tv/Razer. I know we've all put ourselves in a position where you're at the end of your mouse pad while you're drawing. You're like, oh, this isn't going to work. Anyway, so this week, something interesting ended up in my email. An announcement that in celebration of the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter II, Retrotainment Games and Capcom were releasing a special edition, limited run, 5,500 unit Super Nintendo cartridge of the game. Yep. Fully functional. Put it in your SNES, and it will absolutely play.
Who still has an SNES?
I have 2 of them, but that's not the point. Yeah, I actually have 2 of them.
But I'm just saying, like, how you can't still get one new, right?
No,
I mean, it's been years and years, right? There's no. There's not is there a retro one that's made that you can buy if you don't happen to own an old one?
That will play cartridges? That I cannot tell you. I do know that we have the Super NES Classic Edition coming out
right
soon, but it will not play cartridges.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Like, will you? So basically, the only people who can buy this limited edition thing are people who already have a console that's like 20 years old.
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. So they better make only a few, because just the potential market is pretty small.
It's pretty small, yeah. Now, the thing that this triggered for me, Avram, is this is like the extreme end of the interesting trend that we've seen over the last 24 months, but mostly the last 12 in particular. I mean, it started with some products that we interviewed at CES 2016, but not quite to this extent. Nintendo at the end of last year released the NES Classic Edition, and the Super NES Classic Edition is coming very soon. Sega partnered with AtGames to release a classic and a flashback Genesis console that will play Genesis cartridges. So that's the opposite scenario. Here's a new console that'll play the old cartridges. But like, this is the extreme end of this interesting trend toward retro gaming, where we're going to produce a new cartridge for old hardware. Now, for anybody who's going to go pre-order this, just as a warning, their website has a whole warning at the bottom that says this may cause your SNES to catch fire. I don't know what that's all about, but read it. Even if you don't, read it, because it's an interesting disclaimer. But that's not the point. What do you think is happening here with this big, like, retro game push?
So, what do I think is happening? I think that people who... So, first of all, I don't think anyone who didn't play these games when they first came out is buying this. Like, I don't think there's... I could be totally wrong here, but I don't think people who didn't grow up with the retro game really want to play the retro game.
I've seen an interesting amount of excitement in teenagers for the SNES Classic, which
Huh.
would have been gone by the time
Yeah.
it would have been the 64 by the time they were old enough to know what was going on. So that I have found interesting.
Now, I say this, and yet at one point, my son was very interested in. I showed him, I had like an emulator a little bit, and then I had like we had bought like the flashback Atari because Atari was like my console when I
Hmm.
was growing up, and he was like, "Oh, this is what you played when you were little," and when he was first looking at it when he was like 4 years old, he was like, "Oh, this is cool." Like he didn't have like a strong opinion that the graphics are bad or
Hmm.
whatever, um, but I get the feeling when you played better games and you're a little more discerning, you'd be like, "Well, why am I going back to this now?" For me, playing some of these games takes me back, and
Sure.
it's like, oh yeah, I remember how much fun I had playing that game. But I feel like it's sort of like, do you ever get the channel Boomerang, which is all the old cartoons,
Yeah.
like, and you turn on like, oh yeah, I remember watching this when I was 10 years old, so. I guess there's some people who want to see the retro stuff. That's cool. I guess there's still things people want, even if you know, I don't know. Maybe people like 80s music, maybe they like the games. People like,
Indeed.
90s music, maybe they like the games. I mean, it just seems I feel like it's something that is probably targeting people who are trying to sort of recapture something that they were doing in childhood,
Oh,
but
absolutely. I think that's its primary market for sure.
so why not? I mean, I do agree with you. It's very interesting how much it's happening. Like, I can totally see the new games based on the old IP,
Uh huh.
but
Sure.
why people want to go back to like the old game with the old bad graphics is hard for me to to understand. Like, what I don't know. Like, yeah, like for about 5 minutes playing old Atari is fun, and then it's like, oh man, look how far we've come. You know, look how far we've come. Now the games have a plot and everything. Like, now, if you were
Although,
to,
if you go back to the Super Nintendo era, which is what we're talking about here, if you look at like the Final Fantasies of that era versus the Final Fantasies of now, I think the stories and plot were far more intricate in the older games, and that Square has kind of fallen into the trap of focus on graphics and not story.
I mean, that's true. And, one of the things that people are always complaining about, or not always, but I keep hearing is that there's no like Library of Congress for video games.
Hmm.
So, old games are being, I don't know, lost to time. So,
And
um,
we'll see a lot more of that with games now that require a server on the back end to function at all. I can go back and I can play the original Super Mario Brothers today all I want without any problem. But, if I wanted to go back and play a game that requires a server on the back end, that's
yeah,
not going to
that's
happen.
actually it's actually you're very right. So all I can say is everyone in my office is very excited about SNES Classic coming. They're very excited about these old game about playing old games. I also think we forgot to mention Sonic. Did you
Mhm.
see the whole thing where they're coming out with with like, what was it, some package of like, I don't know how many Sonics that date back to the original Sonic.
Are,
Like, it's
do you mean you're not talking about the new Sonic game in the old style that just came out? You're talking about
no,
like
I think
there's
is
are you
isn't
talking
there
about
one?
the hardware? The classic and the flashback that come with basically all the original games?
Well, no, no, no. But I do think wasn't there like some kind of, I mean, there is a new Sonic that looks old, but isn't there? I thought that they had actually like reissued some of the old Sonics. what's the old? Maybe I'm wrong.
Could be.
But
I mean, for sure, there's the Genesis flashback and classic console that come with just like the NES and the SNES. They come with a ridiculous number of games.
Definitely, just a lot of. Anyway, yeah. I mean, it's so people love it now. Maybe Atari, maybe somebody who used to work at Atari will go get a shovel and pick out all the ET cartridges from the landfill and sell those for hundreds of dollars a pop on eBay.
They already pulled all that up.
Oh, they pulled it all out. I know that they were looking for it. Did they actually get it all?
Yeah, there was a documentary that Microsoft paid for. It's on Xbox or whatever it's called now, TVs and video or whatever.
Yeah. Well, there'll be sad times when people actually really want to play that game.
Oh God. Yeah. There's nostalgia and then there's nonsense. And
so
playing a game that was so bad that the developer threw the cartridges away, that's nonsense.
I do have to say I'm of a certain age where things that are sort of made nostalgically are cool with me because I was there. So it's like, oh, you're making all my old stuff cool again. So I think it's great that new generations are discovering these old games. What I would rather see them doing, although they are doing this to an extent because you can go to arcades, is I think the number one thing I'd like to see is more places where you could go and play classic arcade games.
Yeah.
Not that you can't. There are a number of bars that have them. There's a place here in New York City called Barcade that does a good job.
I'm fully aware of that place.
But I do think that's the thing that like I'd really like kids to I'd like my son to experience that it's like this is what it was like to go to an arcade.
We've actually got a really large arcade here in Pinellas County. It's interestingly named. It's called Treasure Island Fun Center, but it's not in Treasure Island. It's in Seminole. But whatever. They moved and they never changed their name. But it's a huge arcade. Like it's in an old grocery store. So
oh man,
it's huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely would like to see more arcade stuff. If we're gonna start doing nostalgia stuff, if we're doing throwback stuff, let's bring back the arcade. I think that's our takeaway here.
Yep, I support that. I support that wholeheartedly.
A lot of my early 20s were spent in a couple of arcades here in the area.
And it has to be cheesy too. Like, you don't just make it like brightly lit and like family friendly like Chuck E. Cheese. It's got to have like dark lighting, and it has to be next to Spencer Gifts, of course. And you have to have all kinds of like strange characters there.
That's funny. Our mall arcade was next to a Radio Shack and not the Spencer's. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies or let the professionals do it for you, because that's what they get paid to do. The guys who used to do Mystery Science Theater 3000 are back and doing what they do best, making fun of movies. From blockbusters to The Little Unicorn, they've got a little bit of everything. The way it works is for a couple bucks, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever you happen to have the movie, and laugh. From time to time, they do a live show in movie theaters nationwide. The last one, as we know, was Doctor Who's Five Doctors. And the next one, on October 25th, will be Night of the Living Dead in theaters nationwide. And to find out what theaters are supporting it and what movies are available, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks. I am very much looking forward to Night of the Living Dead. Anyway, that's not what we're going to do. Let's talk about Instagram for a minute. If 2016 is going to go down as the year of celebrity deaths, 2017 seems to be going down as the year of celebrity data dumps. We talked last week or 2 weeks ago about HBO and the entire cast list for Game of Thrones being leaked with emails and phone numbers and home addresses and all kinds of stuff. This week, Instagram turns out to have had a bit of a bug in their software, and through a very simple process, somebody could grab the email address and phone number attached to your Instagram account using an old version of the Instagram software from last year that has not been maintained for a while, which suggests that this bug in the old version of the API might have been around for a long time, which is interesting. But a very simple password reset with a proxy set up, and anybody could grab your email address and phone number, and of course did. Since it was a manual process, though, it required the original application to be in place. They didn't just like do a quick scan of everybody's Instagram account. They had to be, picky. And so, of course, they picked celebrities, as you would expect. And all of that data right now is available for sale at about $10 a pop.
Wow. So what will you do with this information? Well, I'm sure terrible things, but this sort of reminds me, I don't know who the person is who's paying $10 so they could get, I was looking at the list here, that they can get, Snoop Dogg's phone number or, Beyonce's phone number. Like, first of all, they may very well change it. But second of all, like, they probably don't want to hear from you. This sort of reminds me when I was a kid, and I don't know if it was ever true because I never called it, but there was like floating around my elementary school, there was like, oh, such and such knows someone who knows Gary Coleman, and here's Gary Coleman's phone number. But don't call him because he'll be really angry to hear from you. And I was like, so why do I want his phone number?
Right.
Listen, I love you on different strokes. Oh, you hanging up on me? But, and given what we know now about Gary Coleman, now that because back then it was like when he was on TV and stuff.
Right.
I'm sure he really wouldn't have been happy.
Right.
But anyway, so I don't know who still wants that stuff, but I guess there's some people who are celebrity obsessed and they will call and harass someone.
Well, there's also
for the kick.
There's also the scenario that once you've got an email address for a celebrity, perhaps there's a process for getting a hold of maybe their account. For example, this week, Instagram has said that they have fixed the bug and that no security information was breached. However, 3 days before that, 3 days before that, Selena Gomez's Instagram account posted a couple of nude photos of Justin Bieber that have been floating around forever. They're from that paparazzi a year and a half or 2 years ago or whenever it was. But the Selena Gomez's Instagram account published the photos via a hack. So it's possible that that through either social engineering or something like that, once you've got Selena Gomez's contact information, perhaps you can get into their account. There's potential for gain with that kind of information.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I mean, it really does call attention to the fact that you don't want to have information out there that, like if you're afraid someone's going to hack it, like, you want to be careful. And if they are celebrities using Instagram, and they have to give a phone number, I guess you have to give a phone number to sign up for an account. But does it have to be your phone number? I mean, don't they have people for that or something?
You would think, because I mean, it texts a verification number to your phone, to a phone number, but isn't that exactly what Google Voice was created for?
Yeah, I mean, you could have a throwaway phone number. Would probably have a personal assistant use your phone number. I don't know. I mean, granted,
or you've got a phone specifically for this. If you're Selena Gomez, it's totally possible that you have a phone number specifically for this, and maybe an email address for each social network, so that this kind of crap doesn't happen.
Now, let's be fair. I think that a lot of these celebrities are like real people. I mean, I think one of the things that's most fans of any can see through very easily, and nobody really likes to see, is a very sanitized, corporatized social media presence, right? The one where like we've all seen it, like social media, where it's just like the person. It's very clear that the person themselves is not sending any messages, and that they're just like have an assistant who goes and like puts up some platitudes to promote them and promote their stuff. And I think the thing that people like about social media is the immediacy, the thought that like, yes, that person really is behind the keyboard, just like me.
Yeah.
They don't have, an army of, of sort of gatekeepers between you and them putting up the posts like you would if you go to someone's official website. Like, the idea is, wow, they like actually are tweeting. So, I do think that's something that people like about social media, and the people who are actually tweeting and actually Instagramming, probably using their own phone, not really thinking about, well, maybe I should have a burner phone for the, a second phone for this or whatever. They're probably just, the convenience.
Yeah.
Let's do it on my phone.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, although you don't need to perform the account on the same phone as you use for the verification.
Correct.
So it's not like you have to use a separate phone. Just be able to get through whatever the verification is.
Right, because I verified Instagram on one device, and I use the software on 4 or so. So, yeah, once you do the verification, it doesn't matter. But anyway, the thing that stood out for me in Instagram's release was they said that one or more individuals obtained unlawful access to data. And that phrase I thought was interesting, because it sounded like Instagram was trying to pass the blame. As like the analogy that I thought was, you leave something private in a bar and somebody picks it up. Whose fault is it that information is now public? Is it the person who found the thing, or is it the person who left it behind? Apple would lead you to believe that it was the person who picked it up, but throwback to the iPhone 4 or whatever. But I think Instagram needs to take more responsibility for that information being out there than they are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, what they're trying to do is say these are bad people who hacked in and took the stuff in. By all rights, they're right. It is unlawful, and it is wrong. So they're right about that. On the other hand, I think one of the principles in computer security is if somebody can hack it, they will hack it.
Right.
Especially something that's as valuable a target as Instagram accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? They need to have done a better job. But I don't know. I mean, I guess the word unlawful reads a little bit like legalistically, but maybe they're trying to like distance themselves a little bit, but they really don't have a leg to stand on. Like, they had a security flaw, people took advantage of it.
And a fairly simple security flaw at that. I've looked into the details of it. It was not difficult to take advantage of. So, like, it was a It was an amateur mistake that was made.
And if people did it and they're caught, like I think that's still a crime. They didn't earn access to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't, given permission to do that.
Sure.
So I guess it's sort of like, I don't know, if someone leaves my door unlocked, or like the lock company for my door, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still not, it's still a person's fault who breaks in and opens the door. It doesn't matter whether the lock was effective or not.
True.
But nevertheless, I would put a lot of blame on the defective lock company.
Or on the person, in this particular case, basically the analogy is if you were to go and lock all of your doors except the kitchen door, and somebody came in through the kitchen door, there's definitely blame to be spread around.
Yep. Well, another day, another hack.
Yeah, indeed. This week's DRM not included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Groove. All the music you love play ad-free from one of the biggest catalogs on the planet. You can listen anywhere on your PC, tablet, Xbox 360 or Xbox One, your smartphone, whether it be Android, iOS, or Windows, or just on the web. And of course, you can download music on up to 3 devices, so you don't have to use your limited data plan if you have one of those, or if you're in a place where you don't have data at all, you can still keep the music going, plus all the things you would expect, playlists and custom radio stations based on artists and genres and songs that you really like. Plus, right now we have a free 30-day trial by going to f5live.tv/groove. I did it again. I tried to invert free and 30. So I said 3. Anyway. So an interesting IPO was filed this week. There's kind of no doubt that Roku is one of the leaders in streaming platform assets, right? They make their own hardware, which allows you to add smart capabilities to standard TVs or TVs that are out of date. And, Samsung or whoever doesn't support the smart TV platform anymore. But then you've also got TVs that have it built in. At CES this year, we accidentally did 2 interviews with companies with Roku TVs. Like, it's not like we went out looking for Roku TVs. We just happened to do 2 interviews with TCL and Hitachi, and both of them support the Roku TV platform. And this week they filed for an IPO, which is an initial public offering. So for those of you who don't know, that means that they're going to make stock available to the public for the first time through the NASDAQ international listings. They're looking to raise $100 million, which initially might sound like a lot of money until you find out that they are some $244 million in the hole right now. So it won't even patch the negatives. It's an interesting amount of money. In the filing, that's not so much the interesting part. Is not the filing itself or the fact that they filed. It's some of the information that was in the filing. As a private company, they're not required to release any numbers at all. But in filing for public offering, they're required to give some information. And so some of the information was really kind of interesting. The company, as of the end of June, all of these numbers are kind of as of the end of June, had 15.1 million active accounts, which is a lot of, theoretically a lot of accounts when you think about, how many other ways there are to watch these things, right? And they had 6.7 billion hours of streaming in that first 6 months of the year. And last year, 1/3 of all content streamed was Netflix. No big surprise there. And that YouTube was its top ad-supported service, but they don't make any revenue on any of the ad-supported content on YouTube. In fact, they have a lot of trouble generating after-sale revenue.
Yeah, I don't know how they would.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting place to be, right? It's a platform that requires, in this case, like a one-time purchase price, but requires ongoing maintenance and things. You know, it's not like Samsung just selling you a television and then they're done.
Right.
The smart platforms require upkeep.
Yeah, they run updates. I mean, so well, I have some thoughts about Roku. First, no, actually, they're not negative. I love Roku.
I do too.
I love Roku, and my love for Roku was reaffirmed this weekend, Friday, when I went to my parents' house, and they had just bought a new Samsung Smart TV.
Okay.
And they said, "Oh, look, we don't have to have Roku anymore. It's built in. It's like the same kind of thing is built in." And I went and yes, they had the ability to play Netflix, the ability to play Amazon in there, but man, it just wasn't as good as Roku. Like It was slow. It was like doing some awkward updates. The interface wasn't as good. Like it just Roku really is the best at what it does.
For sure. By
far. You know, like I understood they have a lot of competition. You know, they have all the smart TVs. They have iTunes, not iTunes, Apple TV. You know,
they've got Android TV, which is or is not.
Nobody has that.
I know.
And they have, and there's Fire TV.
Sure.
So they have a lot of competition in the set-top box space in the ability from both smart TVs and other third-party boxes. So it's amazing that they're doing as well as they are.
And consoles, That's how,
right too.
That's how I interact with most of my stuff is with my Xbox One.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. My PlayStation now we do, I use the Roku on the TV that doesn't have the PlayStation because on the PlayStation we use that.
Yeah.
Now, but it's not as good. It's just not as good. You got to use the controller to navigate. My wife hates that. She's like, you do it. I'm not doing it. Roku is like a real TV experience. What Roku should be doing, and it looks like they are doing to an extent, is licensing.
Yeah.
Instead of trying, I mean, it's good that they're the hardware vendor too, but they really need to be the one to replace the bad smart TV software that's on all these TVs.
And a couple of manufacturers have gone that way. TCL's gone that way, Hitachi's gone that way, and somebody else. I don't remember the third one.
Yeah, I'm sure Samsung will never do it because they like to control their own stuff, but man, that would be if you said this TV has Roku, that would be a big selling point for me because Roku legitimately has just much better software than everybody else. I don't know why others can't get it right. It's not that hard. It doesn't seem that hard. Just make it fast and seamless, easy to add and remove channels, support a lot of things. But
I bought my parents a Roku ages ago, and I've loved it.
I would recommend to people who are thinking about buying a smart TV, don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't buy a smart TV. Buy a TV and buy a Roku. That's it.
Or one of the ones that has the Roku built in.
Or one that has a Roku built in.
Whatever your decision is, go Roku.
Yeah. Yes, I would recommend that you do not waste the extra $50 to get a Samsung Smart TV. If you're thinking about getting a set, you really want to get a Samsung TV, get the non-smart one and spend the difference on a Roku box.
Absolutely, because the cost is gonna come out about the same, and your experience will be much better if you get the Roku.
Yeah, so they deserve some recognition. It's amazing that they're able to do as well as they are with all the competition that they have. without all the other stuff that all the other vendors have. Like, they're the only ones that I know of that are out there doing this completely on their own. Like, Amazon Fire TV could be, it doesn't have to do super well because they're Amazon, and it could just be their ecosystem for TV, but, to help sort of drum up some of the Amazon Prime Video and stuff. Apple doesn't need to, it's nice for them, but Apple doesn't have to succeed in TV because, like this sort of props up iTunes a bit.
Right.
Like, they don't have to be number one in that. But Roku, like, this is all they've got.
Yeah.
This is all they're doing. So if I were an investor, I would be concerned. If I was thinking about investing in them, I might be concerned about that. The fact that they're losing money is a testament to how difficult the market is. At the same time, good for them because I thought years ago that they might go, not be around.
Yeah.
If you asked me a few years ago, I would have said, "Oh man, I love Roku, but I don't think they'll still be around in a few years because it's just going to be built into the TV."
Right.
But they have persevered.
They're in the same.
Much credit to them.
They're in the same situation that TiVo was in. Right. That
yes,
they are the undisputed champion of the platform, but being this standalone thing that's not built into your cable box in TiVo's case, or doesn't have a secondary revenue stream like Amazon with Prime Video or Apple with iTunes, Google with the Play Store, things like that. Without that secondary revenue stream, TiVo got crushed. And here Roku is in the same place. I think the difference that Roku has for them is the fact that they have so many subscribers, they have so many active accounts. They might actually be able to work out, maybe not with YouTube, but perhaps with some of their other ad-supported ad-supported platforms. Maybe there could be some sort of a revenue share. YouTube has revenue sharing plans with other third-party publishers. It wouldn't be out of the question to see that kind of thing. Or it's possible that maybe Roku finds a secondary revenue stream. Maybe they have a media store or something show up.
Yeah, they probably should do something like that. Although, to be fair, they're probably well aware that it's going to be very hard to compete in those spaces. Like, so there's Google Play and iTunes and whatever. No, I'm going to buy for Roku. So, to be fair, that's a tough road to follow. Like, their whole thing is kind of tough.
Yeah.
But I think trying to push more in the licensing, I do think what could happen to them someday, and I thought this would have happened maybe already, is that somebody who makes smart TVs, buys them,
brings them into the fold,
but I for one am glad that we still have things like Roku on the market, because there's really nothing else like it that is just not trying to sell you something else.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. I love Roku. I use their products a lot. I wish them all the luck in the world. I hope they find more ways to monetize. I don't know if a lot of investors are going to be excited about investing in a company that has that much debt, and then also is in a market where it's really stiff competition, and the trend is for more of these things to probably be in the TV, which, like, by all rights you're better off, just you said about TiVo, by all rights you're better off with Roku. But if your TV already has a smart TV and your main thing that you're going to do is watch Netflix, and you get Netflix there, I don't know if a lot of people are going to be like, you know what, I'm going to buy Roku also.
Right.
So at some point, it may very well be the case that almost all new TVs are smart. Not yet, but at some point.
And maybe the way that Roku survives is by increasing their licensing partnerships.
I mean, that would be their bet. They must know that would be their best bet. But
I hope so.
I know a lot of companies like Samsung and Sony or whatever, they want to be in control of the software, and
Sure.
they don't want to admit probably that, hey, actually Roku's better.
Right. So. But when you've got companies like TCL and TCL in particular, like that's anytime Roku talks about their hardware partners, TCL is the one. Like there are photos in the filing in the FTC filing, all of them are of TCL TVs. There's not a Hitachi in there. TCL is definitely the one that they are excited about being partnered with, but that's because you can get a really good quality TCL TV for just shy of free. I mean, their prices are ridiculously low.
Well, I guess my question is I don't know what the sales numbers are, whatever, but I don't think TCL is a leading brand in TVs.
They're getting there.
Oh, they're getting up? Okay.
Oh yeah. My guess is because we were at the press conference this year at CES, and my guess is at the rate of growth they're seeing in the U.S., I'd say by CES 2020 they'll announce themselves as number 3.
Huh. Now, if they could get, I think they should try to get into the Best Buy house brand. What is it? I forget the name of it.
Element?
Yeah, that would. I think it's
them?
it's Element.
Yeah.
I think it's Element. Insignia. Is it Insignia?
Element was Circuit City, I think.
I think it's Insignia.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that would be a good move for them. But anyway, yeah. So good luck to them.
They claim that they've got a plan for profitability, and this is going to help them execute it. We'll see how that goes. And that is our show. Thank you for joining us. However it is you joined us, whether it be live at f5live.tv/join us on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, or through our subscriptions at PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk about tech and games and stuff like that. Next week, we have a different kind of a broadcast. We will be broadcasting first looks from the Robot in a Weekend in Tampa for the first Tech Challenge. We will see how all of that goes. We have not broadcast Robot in a Weekend before, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We will be one of many organizations, at least across the state of Florida, who will be doing it. So if you're interested, there will be more than one live stream for sure. Usually Florida Polytechnic does one, and University of Central Florida does one. So keep an eye out for the Robot in a Weekend stuff next weekend. And then after that, we will be back here in the studio. So that's the 10th, the 17th, the 20th. So the 17th and the 24th will be normal shows. And then October 1st, we will be off because I will be in a car coming back from Atlanta for Anime Weekend Atlanta. So the next couple of weeks will be back and forth, but that has been how the whole second half of this year has gone for us, right, Avram?
Yep, definitely so.
So I guess on that note, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you back in 2 weeks. Ciao.